All right, we're live now. Raising the bar. We are talking today about connecting the dots and our children and foster care adoption. I just want everybody first to introduce themselves.
I am Robin Spence. I thank you, Margarita, for inviting me to be part of this forum today. I think it's really important. One of the topics that we're speaking on, which, as she said, is foster care, foster adoptive care, and just kind of both sides of the tale. I am a foster parent. I have been a foster parent for almost 20, for back and forth over almost a 20-year span. And then I also am a foster adoptive parent as well, meaning that I have adopted some of the children that I have that I'm fostering.
My name's Michelle, and I am also a foster parent, which is new for me, so it sounds crazy to say still. I'm really glad to be part of this today because I think I'm at a different, unique stage. It's new for us. So my daughter's here with me and we share our experience. So thank you for inviting us today.
Hello, I'm Cannell Johnson. I'm also a foster parent, so I don't have that much experience as Miss Robin does. I've been a foster parent for 4 years now, so definitely can't wait to share my experiences. And I'm also a foster adoptive parent as well, so which means I also fostered and then later on adopted as well.
Now, Tanel actually spoke at one of our last events, and what I was impressed by, a lot of people when you adopted, if I'm not mistaken, as a single man, right?
Yes,
Is
yes.
that correct? And a
Mhm.
lot of people don't think they can do that as a single woman or single man. And so if you could just share a little bit about that
Yeah.
experience, I would appreciate it.
Foster care has changed a lot over the years. I think, back in the days, it used to be very traditional, like there had to be a husband and wife in the home, had to be a two-parent home. Foster care is it's very flexible. So you can be a single man, a single woman. A lot of people have this notion too, well, I live in an apartment, so I can't be a foster parent. You can have an apartment and still be a foster parent. I've personally seen, people that are low income, they're foster parents as well. So they don't necessarily care about I guess the little things, right? Just as long as you have the finances to support the child. So one of the things that I had to do, you have to get your paycheck stubs that you are able to maintain your own bills and things like that on your own. So once you show that piece and you have the space for a child, so even if you're in a two-bedroom apartment, you have the primary bedroom, you have an open bedroom, then you can be a foster parent. One of encourage our single parents to think about out there is to start looking at your support, because I couldn't have done this without my support. So my mom is my support. She lives with me. So I told her, as long as I have a place to stay, you have a place to stay. And she supports me in everything that I do. While I went to work, because I work 8 to 5, and she's here with the kids. She works as well, but her work schedule is a little bit more flexible where she can be home when the kids are home from school. So, so start looking at those supports now, and don't think that you can't, because you can. So just kind of look at what that looked like for you, because I would tell you in the beginning, when I first started out in this journey, there's no way I can do it because I work full time. I support the whole household. There's just no way. But if you get that support team together, there's ways that you can do it. And then also there's another program called the Bridge Program. So where the county understands that there are a lot of single working parents, so they will pay for daycare for a certain period of time until you got to kind of solidify what that plan looks like. So there is ways to do it. So don't look at it as a barrier, or I don't think that I can do it because, or I live in an apartment or things. So when I can tell you, I started off, in a 3 bedroom, 1 bath house, with an air conditioner in the living room. Not, it wasn't even central heat and air, but where God has brought me from that point, I'm blessed. I can't complain at all. But you got to start somewhere, right? So, you look at your situation, look at what you can do, and also start looking at what age child would I best benefit? Would I best work with adolescents? Would I be best working with babies? Would I be best, so also look into that, so it's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Maybe you get your first teenager and you're like, oh no, can't do teenagers, but keep at it, because, that teenager and you guys might not pair or whatnot, but it doesn't mean that you won't be right for another child, so stay at it. I think a lot of our foster parents sometimes too, they dip their toe in the pool and then they have one bad experience and then that's it. Just got to keep at it. It's not something that always is going to work out. And find that foster agency that works for you. That's your questions. How do you guys support the parents? If I needed you at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm having an issue with a child. What does that look like? You know, a lot of the foster family agencies have an on-call. So if you are having a child after hours, you can call. They'll work through the steps, help support you. So you're not alone in this. So I'm with. I don't even know the actual name because it used to be called Sierra Forever Families, but I think it's Sierra Youth Solutions now. So start doing your research. See what agencies kind of better gel with you and ones that you feel like are going to be supportive. I think that's just a good place to start. So there's smaller family agencies. Also, another thing is that the kids, they have visits. So what does that look like for you guys? Are you guys able to support transporting the kids to their visits, supervising visits? I know that there's one agency that I used to work for called EA Family Services, where they will transport the kids to their visits for you, and they will supervise the visits for you. So pretty much all you have to do is just make sure that the kid is ready, and they will handle the rest. So just some little things.
I actually used to do supervised visits. It's funny you said that. So I used to do that through our security company. I did it for a while, like mostly parents though, and they needed supervised visits for whatever reason it was. So I understand how that goes. So yeah, I think the biggest thing you said is support, 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 support. And then also not knowing how you can connect, because I know for Michelle, you have an older child, right? Two. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. So tell us a little about that experience if you don't mind.
I
Don't say anything bad because she's right there. Yeah. She's so cute. Thank you for coming on too.
So the girls in our relationship started differently. I used to date their dad, and back when she was 11, and I came in their lives, and so there was just all these little girls. So when we broke up, that's where our situation changed, and they stayed with me, even though they have a biological mother and father. They stayed with me, and then we went through different things that we won't get all into, but we ended up CPS at the door. And so we've been living together and doing this for years. They came to live with me without their dad in October of 21. And so we were already kind of doing our thing. But then when the system got involved, I was scared to death, because I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know, would they come take them from me? I didn't know, would they give them to me because I'm not a relative? I didn't know anything about it. So what I will say is, coming into it, I was terrified, and it sounds a little cliche, but I went to Raising the Bar, and he was there, and he was talking about it. And I went up and I talked to him, and I was like, there's part of me that doesn't want to do this because it's too much. I'm a single mom. I have a 10-year-old, like, how am I going to support 3 kids? And I have a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old, and they're athletes. And when I say athletes, I mean, one's in Salt Lake City right now playing volleyball, track team, swim team, tennis, taekwondo. I was just like, how am I going to pull this off? But after talking to him, something inside me told me I could do it. And it was just like, he made it seem like it was possible. And to be honest, yesterday we had court. And as of yesterday, I'm officially her foster mom. And it sounds kind of funny to us because we were already doing it, but now it's legal. And when the system got involved, I have a history and I got in trouble a lot. I've been in a lot of trouble a long time ago. And I was afraid it would come up. And I didn't know, will they take them from me? Will they start looking at, me having my daughter? And they didn't. They didn't care about that at all. When I read the reports and when I talked to the social worker, she cared that they called me mom. She cared that each one of their rooms had their own personality. When I read the report and saw what they actually cared about, I was like, well, if that was what they were going to worry about, these are my kids. That's not the problem. They don't care that you made a mistake when you were 20 years old. They don't care that you quit your good job to work from home so you could raise kids for half the price. They don't care about any of that. They care that these kids have a safe place. They checked to make sure there was food. They cared that they were loved and that they actually called me mom. That was the big thing for them, that they called me mom. And so once I learned that, I was like, wow. And so I've been kind of telling people, it's really not that hard. If you really think you could open your heart and your home to someone, you really can. It's not like he was saying, like back in the day, you had to be like perfect, no background. You guys had to make certain money. It's not like that. There are so many kids that need something. And now that we're doing it officially, it doesn't change the way I love them, but I will say doing it, just raising kids in general, I know the impact I have on their lives. I know the difference I have. I know that all my kids are going to college. I know my kids are in charge programs and fixing bad grades and bad choices in the past and really looking towards their future. And that the more I push them, the more they try. And they're just, it's crazy to watch them blossom. It's like a flower, you know, you just give them a little and they take off. And it's crazy to see that when you don't give it to them, how much it was holding them back. You know, I had kids that had 0.7 GPAs who are now getting awards for having great grades while playing sports. So it's, you know, if anything, I would say it is scary. It's scary when those people knock on your door, and it never feels good to be judged, especially when you don't know what you're being judged on, you know. But the payoff is exceptional. It's beyond, it's like parenting. You tell people, oh, I had the baby, I can't explain it to you, what it felt like when I saw my baby, and something you can't explain. It's the same feeling when you adopt a child or foster them, or I don't know what they call it, but they're your children and you love them just the same. And you don't know if you can until you're in that situation, but you do. You love them no differently. I have one here I gave birth to. I love them. I'm not setting up college funds for one and not three. I'm not buying cars for one and not three. You know what I mean? Like everything's the same. And you feel blessed that they love you back. And you feel so it feels so natural
when you do it for the right reason. And most people, you know, we do hear some bad stories, but most people do it for the right reason. I think what everything you said is how you feel. You know, back when we were younger, a lot of people kind of did what you initially did, like whose grandmother didn't raise somebody else in the family, or it was like everybody went to grandma's house, and they didn't always do it through the system because they didn't qualify, or they couldn't, or they were fearful. Because maybe, like you said, it's more help and support once you go through the system. But because people are fearful of it, like you said, maybe they have a background, maybe they're not married, maybe they're not old enough, they don't feel like their house is big enough, whatever the situation, they're just scared to go after it. So I think this is good information for somebody who may be thinking about it and they're not sure. They're like, I'm scared to do it. But maybe they're already taking care of their niece, nephew, godchild, whoever it is, boyfriend's daughter, whoever it is, and they already have that relationship. So they would be the best person for them. But because of fear and not knowledge, and the biggest thing about raising the bar is knowledge. Like, we want to learn from each other so we don't have that fear and those gaps. Yeah, so I'm just excited you guys shared that. How is it for you?
The experience is, well, I don't know, it's just different and new coming from like a place where like with hard stuff to like changing and like living in a place where like people love you and they take care of you and make sure that you have all your, like they provide for you. It's a good feeling.
It's a good feeling. Well, you deserve that. So I want to make sure you understand that, because I think a lot of times when kids are in foster care or they're in these situations, they don't know that you deserve that. You deserve to be loved and in a loving home, and the sky is the limit for you. Like, your circumstance does not define you. I know a lot of people that actually were in foster care and they have like degrees and they're running their own households and they really thrive. So I want to make sure that people know, or anyone listening, if they're in that circumstance, that they know that that's not a means to them not thriving. That's not a means to them not receiving love. Like, you deserve everything you're receiving. And I'm glad you were able to join us. Robin finally made it back. Robin, you want to tell us a little bit?
Hey. You know, I want to say this to CA. Family is not just blood, right? Like, we can't choose who our parents are or what family we were born into. Family is also, which is the most important for me, is who loves you. Right. And I, you know, with Michelle being my sister-in-law, you know, I know the home that you're in personally and who you're with. And, you know, I just think that it is a blessing. And not only has she been a blessing to your life, which you've shared with me before, but you've been a blessing to her too. And I think that's what foster care is about. Like, people don't really understand. They think, oh, you know, they're just people who take kids for checks. No, first of all, that's not even the case at all. You'd be lucky to see money. So it all goes towards the children anyway, which is the way it should be. But it's really just, if you have love in your heart, if you have a little extra love that you can share with somebody, sign up. Sign up, because you will be amazed. Not only, like I was saying, who you'll be a blessing to, but who will come into your life. You'll be like, oh my goodness gracious, I have been missing out. It's awesome. It is an awesome thing. Kind of like what Michelle was saying, my children that I have fostered have actually been biological family. So my first time around, 20 years ago, they were my sisters, several of my sister's children, and that I kind of had to help step in, and that was unique and different, just because of we're already blood family. And now this time around, it's kind of the same thing, except for I've adopted the children, and I never thought that I would have 5 children, but it's a blessing. I love it. I love just how God has placed us together and what He's done, and like Cornell had said, the support. As long as you have support, that is the most important thing. It really is. And support from a great foster care agency. I happen to be with an awesome one who, I mean, I just can't even speak to the volumes of how much they have supported me, how, the training that they offer, and just how.
Oh, we lost her.
Lost her. Well, I can kind
Oh,
of jump in on where she was at until she
okay.
jumped back in. And I will say this. So, like I said, we had court yesterday, but they did say we can financially help you. So we were already doing what we were doing, and it hasn't come, but there is some sort of help. They did say eventually, like in, I think, a couple months, that we're going to start getting a check every month to help with the kids. They did tell me that the kids will get to keep medical, dental, and vision until they're 26.
Mm.
So there are benefits that, are there to help make sure that you're not drowning trying to help the kids. So this daughter of mine is 17, getting ready to go to college. They said there's huge tax breaks. There's going to be a big assistance for her. I think it's like $6,000 once she finishes her first semester of college or starts some point of college. They're giving her a check. Different things, because she'll be 18 and she'll be in college. They don't just let her figure it out. They told me we're going to still be involved until she's 26. So it helps, it helps quite a bit. We haven't got there, but just knowing we have that. And another form of support, again, we didn't come through a foster agency. So if you find yourself in my shoes, they will give you medical, dental, vision. They'll give you a check. And then what else did they offer? Oh, I told them that I wanted some counseling for us all to kind of work through some of the stuff we had been through to get to this. And they said, absolutely, we're all can have counseling for free forever, whatever we need to help us get through all this. And so there's, I chose to bring her to Raising the Bar. And now the next time I'll be bringing my other daughter to my 16-year-old. And by her going to Raising the Bar, she was then now open to counseling. Prior to that, she wasn't.
Good.
So I will say, it has an impact to just talk to people, just with other people.
It does. I grew up and I'm like, counseling. My mom went to counseling a lot. It's like, oh my gosh, she's laying on this couch telling all her business. I'm like, don't tell my business. I'm kind of actually a little bit private. And so it doesn't seem like it because I'm doing Raising the Bar because I believe in it. So I understand, but it is important, especially when you've been through stuff, to have somebody else to listen to and to be able to vent to and not feel like it's going to come back on you. Because I think the biggest thing is we don't like talking sometimes because we don't want to hear about it later incorrectly, right? But I don't want you to throw that up in my face that I just told you my business, and now we're in an argument, or you don't like me and you're posting my business on social media and telling it. But that's the thing about going to a professional, and they've experienced other people. So I'm glad that you'll be able to do that because you've probably been through a lot of things that, that the average person or like I haven't even experienced. And I'm sure you have a story one day that you'll be able to share with us, and, we'll all be able to learn from you. So that's exciting to know. I just wanted to talk about the foster care. I had somebody else that was going to come on that had been through the system and been actually placed in a lot of homes. And, sometimes we think when that happens too, we think that we just can't thrive. So I really wanted people to know that just being in, not only should you be a foster parent if you feel led and if there's options and support, but you should also know if you're on the end of being the person that's in foster care, there is a lot of room for you to thrive still. I just want people to know that just being in foster care isn't like, it's not a negative connotation, but I think people have kind of made it that way. Like you saying that doesn't make us look at you any differently or like make where you could go differently. And there are loving, supporting homes because sometimes we're watching the news and I'm like, oh Lord. But then I know people like Robin, like Michelle, like you, Canel, that are actually love their children and the children have benefited them as much as they have. It's been a two-way street, basically. They brought value to each other's life. So it's not about one person.
One thing too, Marguerite, I think also, I think potential foster parents should also know that, the kids aren't perfect. Come with trauma, come with, their own issues. So I think sometimes, like if you're considering going into foster care, please don't think that the kids are just like, already thriving, already, they're going to listen, they're going to do all of these things. Like it's going to take work from us. It's going to take work from the foster parent to, teach them things that they probably have never seen before. So, the first side of danger or the first side of anxiety or nervousness, and you think that you can't do it, hang in there. And then one thing that I try to do with my kids is like if I see something out of the ordinary, I'm just like, well, why? What if I'm struggling, with them? Why is this happening? Is there something that's going on? And look for the triggers. Like for I have two kids that are on the spectrum, and the youngest one, I'm still getting to know him, but I just learned just something like just recently about him. So when he's hungry, he tends to get more agitated, and then at that point, he can be considered a little disrespectful, but trying to find out what that need is, right? So, because a lot of times our kids aren't going to come and tell us what the need is. So it's going to come out in behaviors. I'm like, dude, well, why are you talking back? Or why are you doing all of this? But then come to find out when he gets hungry, and sometimes he might not, the child might not even know that, right? They might not even know if they're hungry that that's how they tend to act. Or, another trigger that I notice is when he's tired, he doesn't have a lot of patience. So, rather than taking those things personally when they are talking back or when we are having a difficult time, we also got to do the work too to teach them. We have to model the behavior that we want to see as well. Be perfect. So when they are having a bad moment and a bad time, don't be so quick to be like, you know what, I'm just going to put a notice because this isn't working. Try to find out, what's going on, because a lot of times it's not even about you. It's about what they're going through, and it's about what's going on in their mind. So try to find out what's going on in their mind. And and I feel like that those are the times and the moments where you can really build those relationships, right? And really bond with your child, because now, they're like, oh, well, he's not or she's not getting rid of me, or they're not getting rid of me. They really want to know what's going on. And, no one's really ever asked me the question. So look at those moments as moments where you can connect with your child, you know, like, okay, he's having a difficult moment. Let me just, and just be creative. Like one thing I've tried before, my youngest one, he was just crying, and I just went and gave him a hug, and, and he had held me so tight, and then, just calmed him down. So be creative. It's not one size fit all. So just, keep that in mind. Our kids aren't going to be perfect, and just to keep an open mind when you're having a difficult time, and that could be if they're an infant, a toddler, adolescent, teenager, because they all are going to have trauma and things. And especially for the young kids that have trauma and issues that have happened, they're not going to really know how to adequately express themselves. So, really, just kind of finding what their need is, it can go a long way with building that relationship with them.
That, and I would like to add to it, they're each different.
Yeah.
They each have their, it's just like everybody else. They all have their own personality.
Right.
Some are quicker, some are more defiant, some are more open-minded. And it's each subject, because when we raise them and you've had them since birth, it's kind of, we all know you get a kid, it's a clean slate, and they get what you teach them, and they learn, and they become what we introduce them to. So when you get children and they've been raised to that point by someone else, you don't know why they do certain things or where behaviors come from. And you don't know if it's taught behavior and you have to teach them something different, or if it's just what they learn to survive. There's all these different things. And I agree with you. You have to pay attention to what they're doing and try and figure out why they're doing it. And it definitely, again, and then sometimes that'll be it. And then with the other child, it'll go on. But it's all worth it. It's definitely all worth it.
I think that's some good information. I know some of the people watching have said having patience and that sometimes they need somebody to connect to. But I think what you said is very valuable. If you've been raised by somebody else for a certain point, even if it's a year or two, and you've been taught that you're supposed to wait so long to eat, or you can't cry, or you can't express this feeling, or whatever it is, it might not even be something bad, but it's just not something that you're traditionally used to. That's going to seem like a problem because they're not expressing themselves in the manner that you used to. But I do think what you said, Janelle, is important, that you have to just have a little patience. I couldn't imagine if somebody just gave me back because I was doing something that they didn't understand. And maybe I just needed just a little bit more time to open up. And so I think it's definitely, you shouldn't get into foster care if you don't have support, if you don't have patience, and if you're going to take it lightly. Like, I think you just have to kind of consider being in their shoes to some degree and how it would be. I mean, I just couldn't imagine that. So they're actually stronger than we think. And even some of that acting out and different things, it's them trying to process. And we just have to have patience. And so I appreciate you guys giving that information and sharing. I really appreciate your daughter coming on. What Michelle said was true. You know, we don't pick our family, but sometimes we are given this treasure and we don't even know it. Like we don't even know when we walk into it. I've raised other family and so forth too. So I understand. And I'm like, wow, you actually made my life better. Everybody talks about foster parent, and I'm not taking anything away from you guys. You're the adoptive parent. It is a grand thing to do. But sometimes that child changes your life in a way you never could have imagined.
I always make jokes about remember this later when we're picking where the grandkids get to go. Remember?
I remember who grandma is. I don't care what no paperwork says. Remember who grandma is. I'm the best.
You know, on Christmas, everybody's got a Christmas Eve. I get
There
the
you
grandkids.
You'll have to go. Well, that's a good thing to have. I mean, know that you have
Right.
somewhere to send them, right? Well, do you guys have anything else you want to say before we close out?
Thank you for having us on.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for being so transparent. And you bring in your daughter. Makes me smile. If you want to come, if you would have came to Raising the Bar, you would have got Nell's full story. We can't give you that online, which was a blessing to me. I enjoyed it. And like you said, to you, you learned from it. And so if anybody wants to join us, we'll be back. Thank you guys again. Thank you so much. We had a lot of technical difficulties, but we still did it. So thank you. All right.